Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to another live broadcast in the VOpreneur group on Facebook. So this is a little bit different. I know that generally speaking, when I'm doing these broadcasts, I'm doing them during the day, and we're doing Q&As and stuff like that. Every once in a while, though, I like to come on and I like to talk about something that's relevant, talk about something that's important, talk about something that's going on in my brain or whatever. And I'm getting ready for my week, and I thought, you know what? I'm gonna jump on the group here and I'm going to do a live broadcast that kind of gives you a little bit of an insight into how I prepare for my week. I'm a big believer in making plans. I think if you just go into your week blindly and just take it as it comes or just kind of roll with the week, I think that you're setting yourself up for, potential failure. I talk about planning, I talk about goal setting and all that sort of stuff. And I really do believe that if you're not planning your week, you're leaving a lot on the table. And so, generally speaking, on Sunday evenings, right around this time, it's about 10 o'clock Eastern, where I'm at. Sunday evenings, usually around 9 or 10 o'clock at night, I like to come down into my office where it's quiet, and I like to start planning out my week ahead. And that includes doing a few different things. And so I just kind of wanted to outline some of that for you, just to give you a little bit of an idea about what I'm doing in the routine that I'm using. And, maybe that can be a help for you. So the very first thing I do is I think about what my goals are going to be for the upcoming week. And there are two goals that generally don't change. So I write down my weekly goals. Usually I write them in a planner, but then I also write them down on a big whiteboard that I have in my studio so that I can look at them constantly. Every time I walk into my studio, I see them there. And so it reminds me of what it is that I'm trying to accomplish this week. And there are two that pretty much never change. And that is to reach out to 50 new leads and reach out to 50 prospects or, maybe 50 previous clients or something like that. But 50 people that are in my database that I haven't worked with yet or haven't worked with in a while that I want to. So 50 leads, 50 touches. Back in the day, a couple years ago, that used to be 100 because I had a lot of time. I didn't have a lot of voiceovers, and so I was doing 100 every week. Now that I'm busier, I've got regular work coming in because I've got regular clients, and I also do a lot with my coaching, so I don't have the time to put in as many. And because of the client base that I have, it's not quite as necessary for me to put in as many. So every week, though, goal number one, goal number two, 50 leads, 50 touches. Those basically never change. And then from there, goal three, goal four, and goal five. Those are based on what's going on in my week. Those are based on the things that I'm trying to accomplish. And I want to point out here that I never have more than 5 goals for my week. I find that if I put more than 5 things on my plate, more than 5 important things on my plate, I'm either not prioritizing properly or I'm just trying to spread myself too thin and I'm not going to be able to get things done in a productive manner. So I try to never set more than 5 goals for myself. So the first 2, like I said, never change. 50 leads, 50 touches. But then 3, 4, and 5 are based on whatever other priorities that I have going on that week. Maybe I'm working on creating a new marketing campaign. Maybe I'm working on creating a new training program. Maybe it actually doesn't have anything to do with voiceover at all because I've got some other projects that I'm thinking about and some other projects that I'm working on, some other ventures that I'm looking to pursue. Whatever the case may be, though, 3, 4, and 5 are always based on what my most important priorities are for the week. And I never try to expand it beyond that because otherwise I'm just not getting things done. So that's the very first thing I do when I sit down on Sunday night is I determine what my 5 most important goals, my 5 most important priorities are for the week. And the things that don't make the list because they aren't priority, sometimes I just have to reevaluate them too. Are they things that really need to happen or are they just things that I'd like to see happen? And, do I have to bump them, reschedule them, shuffle them down the line somewhere else, plug them in somewhere else? Or, is it something that even needs to happen at all? Is it something that I can give to somebody else to do? So 5 goals, 5 priorities for the week. That's every week. The other thing that I like to do is I like to sit down and make a plan for my social media. One of the questions that I get asked is, how the heck do you exist everywhere? How do you create content for Twitter, for Facebook, for LinkedIn? How? So there are a few different things that I have going on. The first thing I've done is I've actually hired a writer in the past, and I've sent them links to blog posts and videos from my YouTube channel that I've done, and I've said, look, here, I want you to write some tweets for me that are for these blog posts and that are for these videos. And so I hired somebody to do that for me. They sat down, they went through the blogs, they summarized them into tweets, and then sent those tweets to me so I can sit down on Sunday night and I can go into a scheduling program that I use, and I can pick some of those blogs and some of those videos, and I can schedule those right off the bat. And so that makes things easy. I can also look at some of the other content that I've gathered over the week. Maybe there are some articles that I've read with some content that I want to share. I keep a running document in Evernote of ideas that pop into my head, or quotes that I want to share, or just little nuggets that I want to share. And from there, I will write tweets or I will write content for social media. And so I can sit down and I can schedule that stuff out. As much as possible, I try to schedule out a week in advance. And then obviously I'm still present on social media every day, but the bulk of it kind of gets done ahead of time. I sit down and sort of figure it out ahead of time. I have some tools that I use that help me come up with content ideas for the VOpreneur group. So, some of the questions that I ask in the group, some of the content that I share in the group, I have some tools that I use to help me kind of figure that out. And then as I'm reading through it, it'll prompt me and spark ideas in me, which then becomes other content. Maybe that gets turned into a video, one of these live broadcasts, or maybe that gets turned into a blog or something. But that's one of the other things that I do, is I sit down on Sunday night and kind of map out my week for social media, which I think is really important. That's otherwise I just wouldn't get it done. I just don't have the time for it. And maybe that's something that you need to look at too, because maybe you get busy auditioning or busy working on jobs, and the next thing you know, you haven't done some of that stuff. And when it comes to some of that background marketing, like being present on Twitter or being present on Facebook or being present on LinkedIn, that stuff really matters. And if you disappear for a week or two, it can actually have a bigger impact on you, more of a ripple effect on you than you might even realize. And so that's why I'm always working hard to keep myself present there. And then from there, I've got my week scheduled out for my social media. I've tried to think about if I'm, what blogs or videos I want to create this week. I sit down and try to plan that stuff out ahead of time so that I can have time to work on it. And then I sit down and I just start putting time blocks in my calendar. When I know what sessions I have coming up on any given week, sometimes I do, sometimes I don't, but I'll go through and schedule sessions. I compare my calendar to my wife's calendar, so I know, I'm going to be responsible for cooking dinner this night, or I'm going to be responsible for the girls at this time because my wife's got something going on or whatever. And so I make sure that our schedules are jiving. And then I take my 5 goals and I start putting time blocks into my calendar. So from this time to this time, I'm going to be focused on doing lead generation. And from this time to this time, I'm going to be focused on doing those marketing touches. And from this time to this time, I'm going to focus on whatever goal 3 is, whatever goal 4 is, whatever goal 5 is. And I really just work hard at planning out my week. You know what? Sometimes it doesn't always go smoothly. Sometimes things pop up. Sometimes I have crazy weeks. Every one of you have probably been there at some point where that unexpected job, that unexpected audition, that unexpected thing that doesn't even have anything to do with your voiceover, something happens in your house or with a family member, with a kid or whatever. I understand that things creep up all the time, but as much as I can be planned out and prepared ahead of time, the better it is for me as far as working towards my priorities and working towards being productive and successful in my week. And so that's just a little bit of an insight into my Sunday night routine. And then the final thing that I do, just to kind of wrap it all up and put a bow on it, is I reflect back on the previous week. So these were the 5 goals that I had, or maybe there was only 3 or 4, but these were the goals that I set. This is how I made out with them. This is what got done. This is what didn't get done. Maybe this needs to get bumped forward or whatever. And I just kind of evaluate where I spent my time. I look at, well, these tweets did really well, but these tweets not so much. Or, this Facebook post created some engagement, but this one not so much. Or, sometimes I do split testing on my email marketing. And this version of the email worked better than this version of the email. Or little things like that. But I always kind of take a little bit of time to reflect back on the previous week, because I want to make sure that I'm always putting my best foot forward, that I'm doing the most productive things in order to have a successful week ahead. So that's all I wanted to talk to you about. Just a quick video to kind of give you a little bit of an insight into my Sunday night routine and what I am attempting to do to set myself up for success. If you guys have got some things that you do, some things that are part of your routine, whether it's a Sunday night routine or maybe a Monday morning routine or something like that, I'd love to hear about it. Leave it in the comments. I'm always interested in hearing how other people are doing things, and you know, the routines that I've developed are based on things that I've learned from other people or read in a book or heard in a podcast or something like that, and I try it out, and if it works, then I stick with it. But I always believe, no matter what, that having at least some sort of plan before you go into your week is one of the biggest contributors to whether or not you are going to have a productive and successful week. So here's to sitting down and doing some planning tonight for all of us, and to a productive and successful week ahead. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Have a fantastic evening.